Hey there, everybody. The WMUR U.S. Senate debate just ended, and so this is my review of that debate. So I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to get on, and I have notes here, so excuse me for looking at my other computer so I can look at the notes. And if you have any thoughts or comments on the debate tonight, just let me know. But you know what I'm going to start off with? I am going to start off with, I want to make a comment about, Bruce Fenton. And what I want to say about Bruce Fenton, and I know my libertarian friends out there won't like this, but I'm not going to talk about Bruce Fenton and his performance in this debate. And let me tell you why. Bruce Fenton came on the scene, as a wealthy cryptocurrency person, and that he put all this money into his campaign, over $1 million into his campaign. Well, let me tell you something. I have not seen one mailer from Bruce Fenton. I have not seen one commercial from Bruce Fenton. I have not seen anything on social media or the internet from Bruce Fenton. And so I think what he did is he put that money in and he didn't spend it. And he's going to take that money right back out. And I think that's misleading. I think it's a misrepresentation. I think he's done this just to stand up in these debates and talk about freedom, which is important. Freedom is important. But I don't think he's a serious candidate. And I think he tried to fool everybody that he put all this money in, and he just hasn't spent it. And I think that's dishonest. It's dishonest to Granite Staters. It's dishonest to the libertarian people. It's dishonest to the Free Staters. So that's all I'm going to say about Bruce Fenton. Not a serious candidate. He needs to go away. So that's that. So I'm going to start off with rating how I think the candidates did, and I'll say this: I think Vikram did really well. I think Chuck Morris did really well, and I think Kevin Smith did really well. And I think what I would say right now, if I had to rate them, I would say Vikram, Chuck, Kevin. But you know what? As I talk through my notes, I might change my mind. All right, so you got to give me a little bit of a break that I'm doing this right after the debate. But I think all three of them did really, really well. So out of those three comes the winner. And the other thing I want to say about this, I don't know if you watched yesterday the WGIR New England College debate, U.S. Senate debate. So I watched that too. So excuse me if I conflate the two debates, and I will, just because some of you may not have heard what they said yesterday. So the are you a partisan fighter or deal maker? I think Chuck's answer on that question was a good one, and it's supported by the fact that he's had experience doing that in the state senate as president of the state senate. And I really like, yes, vote Katie for Tufton Borough and Wolfboro. Hi, Katie. And I like Chuck's story about, where he was able to override Hassan's veto back in whatever it was, 2014, 2015. I forget exactly when it was. So I think that's good. And I think Kevin's answer of he's a fighter and a fixer was a good answer on that too. And he's a conservative fighter. And Vikram, the same thing about getting solutions. And, the answer to that question is an example, in my opinion, how Don Bolduc just kind of says the same thing over and over and over again. In fact, he said, stop out of control spending, strong borders, our livelihoods under attack. I mean, he really didn't answer the question. He always goes back to everything's bad, everything's broken, and I just don't think he knows the subject matter. So inflation, big issue. And I thought Vikram made a great point here that inflation is a tax. It is a tax. I might say on the answers to this question, I don't think any of them really hit Maggie Hassan hard enough on this. I mean, Maggie Hassan is 100% behind Joe Biden and the causes of this inflation. Trisha, I agree. Inflation is a huge issue. And I just don't think these candidates hit Hassan hard enough on this. I thought there were some good answers that the spending adds to inflation, the energy cost adds to inflation. There were some really, really good answers on that. And, I like particularly how Chuck talked about stop spending, stop the borrowing, energy independence, get the energy costs down, get the government out of the way. Chuck said, get the government out of the way. You cannot overestimate. Julie, I disagree. I don't think Don did well in this debate or the one yesterday. I'll explain about that more later. But Julie, you and I can disagree. That's life. The getting the government out of the way is so important. And I can tell you from my background in business and practicing law, the cost of government regulation is a huge cost on business, and business passes those costs on to customers, which adds to inflation, which is one of the reasons why when the economy was going so well under Trump and he cut regulations, the economy went crazy. And our small businesses here in New Hampshire is a hard time dealing with all that regulation. But yes, inflation is the biggest issue in my opinion. Government regulation needs to go down. We've got to unleash the power of the American oil and gas industry. Vikram was right when he said, the cost of oil impacts everything. So supply chain sort of the another part of the whole inflation issue. I thought both Kevin and Vikram and Chuck made the point that part of the supply chain problem is in fact the cost of oil. I think they all could have sort of flushed this one out a little more. That I think part of the supply chain issue is the fact, I don't want to say it's the pandemic, it's the fact that people aren't going back to work after the pandemic. Trisha, I agree. I mean, this winter to heat homes is going to be incredibly difficult. But people aren't going back to work, and that's really impacting the supply chain. We need truck drivers. We need people working in warehouses. All right, Paul. Okay. Paul, why don't you and I have a debate someday, okay, dude? Paul, you just might be the idiot. And I'll talk more about all the stupid things that Don Boldock said yesterday and tonight. In fact, let me just say, do you realize Boldock said yesterday that we ought to go to Antarctica to drill? There is no oil in Antarctica. Antarctica is in the South Pole. So don't give me that stuff about Boldock. Okay, the guy doesn't know anything. And so if you want to bring that stuff on here, let's you and I have a debate. But yeah, inflation is huge. I mean, in fact, Don's answer on the supply chain was close the borders, And in fact, here's another stupid thing Don said. He said that Maggie Hassan was on the supply chain committee. There is no supply chain committee. So the guy just doesn't know what he's talking about. Pay attention, Paul. So yeah, one of the things Vikram said about the supply chain that I thought was really insightful was reducing the independence on China. When did he say what, Julie? When did he say what? All right, yeah, okay. He made the point, Vikram made the point on the supply chain that we got to reduce our reduce our dependence on China. And that's exactly right. If we do more manufacturing here, he said it yesterday in the WGIR debate at New England College. That's why I said I watched both the debates and, I'm kind of mushing them all together. But yeah, reducing the dependence on China is really important. Do manufacturing here. The other benefit of doing that is we do a better job of managing emissions from manufacturing. You send stuff to China and they pollute like crazy. So, the Trump raid on documents, it was really a question about, are we worried about violence on law enforcement and the FBI? Listen, I think, first of all, I don't think anyone said, that there should never be violence against law enforcement. There should be never violence against the FBI. My phone's ringing. As frustrating as these gigantic bureaucracy can be, I just don't think that. I think every candidate should just make it very clear it's never justified that there's be violence on anything. All right, I think they all could have been stronger on that answer. Of course, people should not have classified documents unsecured in their house. One of the problems I had with that question was, it presumed the accuracy of the leaks coming out of the Justice Department, the nature of the question. And I would have called that out. I would have said, you're relying on leaks, Adam, and asking that question. And I don't think you should presume that the leaks you're hearing from the Justice Department are in fact true. I like Chuck's answer that due process should apply to everybody. And he made a really good point here. Chuck made a really good point here. Why is this a priority in the political debate in this campaign season? That whatever investigation is going on with Donald Trump, the Democrats want it to be a priority, but it shouldn't be a priority for us. One of the things that here's an example of you know, of I think when Don, in fact, in this answer to this question, said he's just not familiar with the policies, and I don't know what he was talking about. And then he started talking about interrogating the FBI. The Senate has oversight rights and obligations with respect to the FBI anyway. I don't think people when the FBI comes to hearings for oversight that they call it interrogation. Yeah, Julie, I think this whole thing, Julie's comment about Mitch McConnell supporting and he's a rhino, I don't think, in my opinion, Julie, I don't think Chuck Morse is a rhino. I think Chuck is a conservative. I think all this money flying around, from Mitch McConnell, I don't like either. I don't like it at all. Unfortunately, that's the nature of politics. I will say about that is yesterday in the debate when Don Bolduc said he never got any money from Washington, D.C. Not true. I can tell you that the Senate Conservative Fund endorsed him in 2019. He got a lot of money from Washington, D.C. when he was running against me and when I beat him by 8 points. So, but Don always struggles with the truth. So the abortion question, I think that this is a bit of a tricky question now because what the Supreme Court ruled in Dobbs is that this is an issue for the state. So when the question is, would you do something at the federal level? That's inconsistent with what the Supreme Court said in Dobbs. So really, I would say no, I would not vote for it. I'm pro-life, but this is an issue for the states. So I thought Kevin's answer here about how extreme Maggie Hassan is on abortion is a point we need to continue to make over and over and over again. That Maggie Hassan believes that there can be an abortion of a baby the day before that baby is to be delivered. That is extreme. And in fact, I don't know what the latest poll is, but usually it's about 80% of Americans are against those late-term abortions. And we need to emphasize that more and more. And Chuck made the same hit on that. I think it's pretty clear from the answers that Vikram is pro-choice, and Kevin, Chuck, and Don are pro-life. So there's a difference there. And then there was that quick question about a 24-week abortion ban coming to the Senate. And, it was, Don said the question makes no sense. The others said yes. Again, I'm not talking about what Bruce Fenton said. I think he's a phony. He didn't spend any of that money he put in. He did this for self-aggrandizement and because he has a big ego. So he's not serious in my opinion. Pathway to citizenship. Vikram, Chuck said yes. Don said no. Kevin said no. Interesting question. Again, I think that was a gotcha question. And it was one of those quick questions. So it was tricky. the way I like to think about that is, no pathway to citizenship, legal status. We are not going to deport tens of millions of people, folks. It's just the way it is. And Tim, I agree with you. I am pro-life. It's crazy to kill a baby at 24 weeks. I agree. But we're not going to deport tens of millions of people. I do not think should be a pathway to citizenship. They should have some kind of legal status, but they also shouldn't be prevented from seeking citizenship like anybody else, once they pay the consequences for breaking the law. But that's me. Supreme Court vacancy, that was a pretty simple question. And I think what Adam was trying to get at with that is, would you prevent a vote on the floor? Would you, and you got to remember that now for Supreme Court nominees, the filibuster does not apply. So you only need 50 plus 1 votes to get a vote on the floor. And the nuance to that question was, if the Republicans have 51 senators, would you vote to have that nominee even come to the Senate floor for a vote? And I would not. Don said he would support a vote. So basically, Don's saying, yeah, if the person's qualified, he would support a vote on the floor. Kevin said no. Chuck said qualified. Vikram said yes. The climate change question, I thought Vikram's answer there was really, really, really good. And he talked about, morphine manufacturing back in the United States, and that's a way to fight climate change. But I think all of them missed the boat on this one. And I'm going to do a Facebook Live on climate change. And the reason I think they missed the boat on this one is there is climate change. The Earth's climate has always been changing. The question is it caused by man and the industrial age? And I come down on that's unsettled. I read a lot about it. I'm not a scientist. I do notice that scientists that are on social media that give you facts tend to get shadow banned. So I would say, based on my reading, that, it's unsettled if man is contributing, and I might even go so far as to say that, man's impact on climate change is not great. Same-sex marriage, they all said yes. Kevin said yes with religious exceptions. I agree with Kevin's answer there. Ukraine, this one is, I think it feels like everyone's, well, Don's now, he always rails, there's no policy, there's no strategy, everything is bad. And he now says no support. So Don Bolduc has gone from putting boots on the ground to destroying the Kremlin, and he has written in an article that we should blow up the Kremlin to do nothing. I think we need to be ready for another Cold War in Europe. That's what's going to happen there. Yeah, hey, Paul, you know what? If you want to say, oh boy, okay, Joe, this is why I love doing these things is, you get these folks that come out of the woodwork and say this stuff and have no idea. Yeah, I like Vikram's approach too. That I think he did well tonight, as I said. And as far as giving money to Ukraine, yeah, I agree with you on that. But so let's keep going. Reduce the size of federal government. Vikram, Kevin, Chuck talked about efficiency, and Chuck talked about, delegating more stuff to the states. And I think that's a good idea. I think you're going to get more done at states. My experience in dealing with federal government is that they are so inefficient, so ineffective. So I thought Vikram, Kevin, and Chuck's answers to that question were good. I really like Vikram's. Don rambled on about different departments and reform, and he really didn't say much. So, listen, I'm rambling on here. Yeah, Glenn, the trolls are out tonight, aren't they? The trolls are out tonight. Hey, Vikram joined us. How you doing, Vikram? Thanks for joining us. Just to recap here what I said, Vikram. I thought, in fact, what I said, I thought you did really well. I thought Kevin did well. I thought Chuck did well, and that I was doing this right after the debate, and that as I went through my notes, I'm sure that who I thought was 1, 2, and 3 would change throughout this discussion. But good job, Vikram. Thanks for coming on here. I think you did really, really well. And I think Chuck did well. I think Kevin did well. I gotta say, that how Kevin handled his closing, I thought was really creative and really funny. Tim, I have the Federalist Papers right on my stand next to my chair. And I would encourage everybody to read the Federalist Papers. But I thought Kevin's close was really funny and maybe a little over the line, but it was funny. I thought Vikram's close was really good. I like when he said Maggie broke this country. That was great. I thought Chuck's was pretty simple and direct to the point. And Vikram, you haven't heard this, but I decided not even talk about Bruce Fenton. I think the fact that, at the beginning of this, he said he put in all this money and over $1 million. I have not received one mailer from Bruce Fenton. I have not seen one commercial from Bruce Fenton. I have not seen anything on the internet from Bruce Fenton. I think he's a phony. I think he's misleading Granite Staters. And I think he's bad for the libertarian movement to have done what he's done in this election. So, Vikram, if you're still on, that's what I said about Bruce Fenton. So, yeah, I'm telling you, it's close. I think all this money flying around is, and get ready, folks. Get ready. I mean, there's going to be a lot of money coming into New Hampshire. This Senate seat's so important. However, I will say this. I think if Don wins the primary, they're not going to send money to help him out. I don't think anybody, I shouldn't say anybody, I think there's very few people that feel like Don has the chops to beat Maggie Hassan. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Great participation tonight. Trolls, thank you for coming out. Get some courage. Call me, email me, come on here with me and debate me. It's I welcome substance, and if you're going to just do the troll stuff and not say anything of substance, I'll call you out on it every time. Every time. Thanks, Trisha, for the nice comment. And thanks, everybody. Enjoy the evening. NFL football tonight. I'm going to go watch it. Glenn, good comment. Good comment, Glenn. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.